Hello, everyone. Welcome to the new edition of Martech Asia Dialogues, where we bring to you the latest and greatest in marketing technology straight from the experts. Today, we have a true rock star of the Martech world with us, Ms. Megha Agarwal, CXO Growth at Meesho. Hi, Megha. How are you?
Hi, Ojasvi. Very happy to be here. And thank you for the kind introduction.
Let's start with the basics first. So, Megha, when Meesho first started out, how much role did technology really play? Were you relying heavily on manual processes for customer outreach and sales? And how exactly did more of Martech just dived in? Basically, what's the role of Martech in Meesho's overall business strategy now, and how has that evolved over time? So I have shot a couple of questions in one go. Over to you.
No, makes sense, Ojasvi. And maybe I'll also go into a bit of a monologue and talk about multiple elements. And feel free to ask any follow-up questions on it. So if I just take a step back, what is the role of a growth person or a marketeer person? The role of a growth person is to ensure that we are able to attract our users or customers, ensure that they come on the product, and also ensure that they stay retained with us. And all of this has to be done in a manner which is extremely cost efficient. So, one metric that most growth teams would swear by is LTV by CAC. LTV captures the value that the user is producing by being on the platform, so staying engaged, by staying retained. And CAC is the kind of money we are spending in getting them on the app or product or whatever it is. Now, that is the most important thing that we look at. And now, why is that important? Is that as Meesho started in the beginning, while we were always looking at this metric, as is with everything, it's always an evolution. Yeah. So, even with this metric, in the beginning, while we had a lot of measurements in place, still a lot of things were not as automated as they are now. Yeah. So I think that has been one big evolution that has happened. But having said that, technology in marketing or growth plays an extremely core role because of what I said, right? At any point of time you look at any point of funnel, you need to have technology to measure. If you can't measure it, you can never optimize it, right? So measuring all these touch points is extremely crucial. Second, ensuring that LTV is maximized and CAC is minimized. You need a lot of things. For example, top of the funnel, you need communications which are extremely personalized. You send junk to users, nobody is intrigued in you. One of the McKinsey reports I was reading, they actually said that almost 70%, 71% of the users now expect personalized messages. And 76% get frustrated if you send some junk. And I'm calling junk as one size fits all, some communication that would work for Ojasvi and not for Janvi or for Megha. Yeah.
True.
So that is number one. The first step itself, the communications need to intrigue the user. It needs to give them a reason for them to come and try your app. And that's how CAC is optimized. So, which means that you need your messaging to be extremely personalized. It needs to be extremely relevant for you. And how do you make it? You can make it only when you actually use ML or AI, those sort of data models, which can help you in understanding whom to target, how to target, sort of things. Third is even when they come on the app, how do you ensure that they get retained so that LTV is maximized? It's very important to understand their journeys, end-to-end capture of data of what they're interacting with, what they're using, what they're liking, not liking. So that again, you can actually personalize the communications, personalize their journeys on the app, right? Every single person has different needs. We have millions of products on the app. And at any point of time, customer would be seeing what, 15, 20, 30, 50 products. So how do you choose those 50 products or X products that you want to show from millions of products? All of this needs to be personalized. All of this needs to be thought through from an angle of what is one person looking for. And that is really the role that technology is playing in Martech, in ensuring that it allows us to capture data, in allowing us to measure all of this data, in allowing us to understand what the user wants so that we can customize things according to them.
So on that retention note, I'll just continue with this retention and personalization. So we know how crowded as you also spoke of, how crowded is the e-commerce space right now, especially. So it's extremely difficult to hook a customer. People, why I talk about people, even I'm switching between apps or jumping to new apps to shop from. So I guess I'm kind of becoming a pseudo loyal customer too. So gone are those days when customers were expected to stick with you even despite giving up poor to like average CX. So people will instantly switch to different offers, discounts, personalization technique, etc. So how does, if you can give this in more detail, how does Meesho differentiate itself through its Martech efforts? If you could talk about more in detail about personalization techniques, your tools, for that matter, retention campaigns or loyalty programs maybe, and what unique challenges and opportunities does this present?
So as you said, Rajasvi, I think the switching cost is very low for the user, right? It's just the apps, you can keep switching on it. And that's where your product needs to be extremely strong, which is what attracts the user. When I say product, it is a combination of number one, your selection. Number two, pricing. Number three, reminding them that why we are relevant for them, which is where the Martech starts to come into play, right?
True.
So for Meesho, this has all three have been differentiators. First is our select. I will not probably talk too much about first and second, and I will go a little bit deeper into third, but I still want to touch about first and second. So if you look at Meesho, e-commerce existed for past 10, 15 years in India. And yet in last 5, 6 years, Meesho has completely revolutionized and really democratized internet commerce for India. And the truth of the matter is our focus on the entire SMEs. If you look at India, almost 85% of India actually buys unbranded, unorganized sector. And that was something which was never a focus for anyone. We unlocked that supply. Similarly, because of the way we are structured, we are asset light. We are fully asset light. And because of that, every single product on Meesho, even if you're able to find it on other platforms, it would be easy 10 to 15% cheaper because we are asset light. Yeah. So these two are very important. And third is this layer of Martech that sits on them, which ensures that we remind our users why we are so good for them. Yeah. Which is, for example, the things that you spoke about. If I think about remarketing. So remarketing, we run through DPAs, dynamic product ads of Facebook. Okay. Now there we are fully integrated with some of the top players like Facebook and Google. We have system to system integration. Again, this allows them to understand what are important signals for Meesho. Okay. Therefore, what is the kind of a quote unquote profile or what is the kind of user they should be targeting? Yeah. And what kind of products that they should be showing. Second, if I look at push notifications, notifications are a very, very strong lever for us to get our users back. In the initial few days, those campaigns were largely manual campaigns, which is it's not like fully manual, but still an analytical model, an Excel model to say that, okay, a person is interacting with XYZ categories, so let's show them product on those categories, right? But it's still a very one size fits all sort of an approach. Now we have a data science model or a ML-based model, yeah, which literally talks about every single person's history, what they like, what they returned, what they actually kept buying more and more, what are they clicking more and more. Based on those signals, we are able to customize that, okay, fine. In those products, these are probably the 10 products that they will really like, and let's push them through notifications. Yeah. So this really helps in improving our customer journey. Third important thing is discovery. That's a very, very important element that is sitting on top of selection and pricing. What do you show and whom to show? When they land on the app, how quickly you figure out that what should be shown so that it actually captures their attention. Think about it from an offline world. Visual merchandising used to do that in offline world. They were, of course, very restricted by just 7, 8 mannequins that they could show. They were restricted by, unfortunately, everybody had to see that. In app world, if your discovery is very, very strong, which is powered largely by ML models, then you can really customize the landing page and take it to the next level, which actually hooks the consumer.
Personalization.
Exactly. So every single time you land and you exactly get those 10 products that you were looking for, that you wanted, you would want to come back again and again, right? Like, hey, the feed would have gotten refreshed. What if I find something new? What if I find something interesting? So that is the role that Martech really strongly plays. What we do is we have CDP, for example, which allows us to store data, which allows us to understand the entire data journey of a user and allows us to leverage it in the right way.
So you spoke about the technologies. So if you could also talk more on what Martech tools are you using to optimize those customer journeys?
Sure. So off app, we work with large players like Facebook, like Meta, Google, etc. for ads.
Okay.
We have players like Apps Flyer, which helps us in data attribution, install attribution. When it comes to on app, it's largely in-house, Ojasvi. We have developed in-house solutions because we want to keep data safe. Privacy is very, very important for us. It's crucial that people are trusting us with their data. We need to keep it extremely safe. So it's a lot of in-house solutions that we have developed. For example, very, very recently, we have developed we call it MECOM internally, which is our whole communication system for notifications. So it's largely in-house for us now.
And if we talk about speaking of one of the social media platforms, we noticed this trend now on Instagram where people share photos of their purchases from a particular brand and tag the company. So how do you see this as an opportunity for Meesho to leverage user generated content and integrate social media listening tools into your Martech stack? And also, how else do you innovatively use social media platform for marketing and sales? Most importantly, does your Martech stack support these kind of efforts? And if you could also mention about some of the campaigns you have been doing.
Sure. I think that's a great question, Ojasvi. So social in general is a great platform, and it will continue to be a great platform for UGC, largely because as growth people, we are supposed to reach where our users are, and users are spending inordinate amount of time on all of these social apps, right?
Absolutely.
So that means it is our responsibility to be there. The other thing that's very important is that these are content first platforms. And therefore, a new trend has emerged, which I'm sure you would have been noticing as well for past 1 to 2 years, is ads that don't look like ads. It's the content first strategy that almost all players have to take up now. Yeah. So that's what we have been doing as well in a very aggressive way. So as you spoke about, doing it from our own handle, working with influencers. Also because, I think people have really evolved. Users are very, very evolved now, and they understand that when they see celebrities, very big celebrities endorsing some products, they do not necessarily believe them, honestly. But if the faces are relatable, then they believe it. They believe that, okay, yeah, I relate to this person, and therefore I can see myself wearing this, using this, and all those. So therefore, influencers are playing a very, very important role from that perspective as well. And therefore, we've been leveraging our relationships with influencer in a big way. Fortunately, a lot of organic content has also been generated on Meesho by a lot of influencers.
Okay.
Now, in terms of measurement, this is where one of the challenges lie, Ojasvi. You asked me one of the questions on challenges in Martech. This is a very big challenge.
Okay.
The problem is there are tools like Sprinkler, etc., which allows you to listen in, understand the sentiments that exist, which are good, which are interesting, and we are leveraging it. However, when it comes to things like being able to attribute the kind of traffic you got from those players, that's where it becomes very hard. On mediums like Google, etc., YouTube, there are still links that can take you and you can attribute. However, in Instagram, especially, which is becoming one of the biggest mediums, as you spoke about, this attribution is not very clean. And it's one of the things that I think most growth people are struggling in attributing and being able to take it to the next level. So this is one big challenge that we have also been trying to figure out, that how do we make this as a core part of our Martech?
But how are you catering this challenge, this attribution challenge at your end?
So right now, Ojasvi, of course, there is link in bio. but it's typically not very trustworthy. So at this point of time, we have developed in-house solution, which basically helps us in understanding the user voice in a way, which helps us in understanding data directionally. Is it at a stage where we can perfectly attribute and say that, okay, X% came from social? No. But what it helps us is saying that, is X moving to Y upwards or Y downwards?
Okay.
Directionally, it can help us in moving that if we did this blast, did we go up or not? Now, there would be an accuracy of probably 60-70% at this point of time based on whatever we've developed in-house. But yeah, that is a work in progress for us.
So let me ask this question. So how you are building up a skillful team for Martech, the team with all the Martech skills, as you want to speak more on the in-house thing. So let's begin with that.
Sure. So I think, curiosity in general is the most important element for upskilling.
Curiosity.
Perfect. I fully agree with that. And that's how it is, by the way. We have a lot of, it's going to go into a little bit of a process thing, but we actually have in-house sort of academies that we run. We actually run sort of pop-ups every month that our creative team and branding team organized to ensure that we keep calling experts so that people can understand that what are some of the new trends that are coming in, what are some of the new things that they should be learning, and access to some tools sometimes Ojasvi. That's all it is. For example, we got our people access to some of the AI tools, and they're just experimenting and they're learning on the go and figuring out what they're doing.
I think that's very interesting and need of the hour, because people nowadays are very confused what skill set to develop, what skills to acquire when it comes to Martech. And on that note, like we have also spoken about attribution and conversion. So after all these marketing efforts you're making, measuring ROIs and the challenges around it has been a case, right? So, but how do you measure ROI of your Martech investments holistically at Meesho, and what metrics do you track, and how do you use them to make decisions about your future investments? And if you could also speak about any specific combination of technology methods you're using for measuring.
Sure. So as I said, if we don't measure, you can never optimize. So measurement is where it all starts. And the way we've thought about it is that every single tool that we use, most of these tools have variable, honestly, costing. And every single tool cost, we actually include in CAC. And that's how the whole ROI is justified. That when you are able to invest in a tool, you're able to measure something and further optimize your cost. Your LTV by CAC equation anyway fits in. So honestly, we've never had issues in being able to justify the ROI that we have in making investments in all of these Martech tools.
And Megha, if I just ask a bonus question here, what would be your tip for someone who's starting their Martech journey, a new brand, a new company?
Sure. So I think number one, which I tell to everyone, is don't silo yourself, which means a lot of times I have seen people tend to see growth in parts, which is to say, hey, I'm a brand person. Hey, I'm an acquisition person. Hey, only look at attention. Customer is a customer is a customer. They don't care about their top of the funnel, mid of the funnel, or towards the bottom of the funnel. You have to think about the customer from an end-to-end perspective. You truly have to understand what this user wants and be able to give them what they really want. If you can't, everything is lost. So for me, that's the number one thing that I always say, that always think about the user from an end-to-end journey. I always tell people to invest in and read more on psychology, honestly, because I feel that when you do, is when you truly start getting curious about human nature. And that's when you take things to the next level. So yeah, that would be my answer to the bonus question.
Very interesting, Megha. And that's all the time we have for today's interview. Thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us. It was fascinating to learn about Meesho, how Meesho is using Martech to drive its business strategy and deliver superior customer experience. Thank you so much once again.
Glad. I'm really, really glad. And it was a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Megha.